Oh man, river. See, I've got to figure out a better intro because it's going to get stale, by the next review. But I'm probably going to do it because, whatever. Anyway, hello there, CriterioNate here. Part 2 in the Paul Robeson Portraits of an Artist. By the way, I think I called the movie Portrait of an Artist. It's Tribute to an Artist, the short film in 370, which, is kind of a, and that's the thing also, when I named the last video, YouTube has those, long title restrictions, so I couldn't put the full title of the set, Paul Robeson Portraits of an Artist / 370 body and the Emperor Jones / Paul Robeson Tribute to an Artist, so I had to shorten it. So apologies for that. But anyway, we're talking about number 371, the Outsider set, Body and Soul and Borderline. This set focuses on two movies that Paul Robeson made back in the 20s. Body and Soul is from 1925. Borderline was from 1930. They're both silent films. And yeah, it just shows more of Paul Robeson just being an actor, not focusing on the singing aspect. Obviously, a lot of people knew him for his voice, but this was more of just, Body and Soul, Borderline proving himself as an actor, as just a great visual actor, a great actor to look at. And, well, I'll get to that in a second. But anyway, so yes, let's talk about these films. Body and Soul, directed by Oscar Michaud. 1925, 75, 79 minutes, black and white, silent. The film is about, actually in this movie, Paul Robeson plays plays a double role. He plays this crook, I forget his name, Sneaky Pete or something like that. He is, who lives his life under the name the Reverend Jenkins, who comes to town as the Reverend Jenkins with a fellow crook, and they rob the church of all their money, and he ends up seducing the daughter of one of the congregation women, and to the point where she ends up running away and leaving to Atlanta, I think to Atlanta. And she ends up dying there. And it isn't until after the mother finds out that she stole her money and finds out, when she went to Atlanta. And when she gets there, she finds her daughter dying. Her daughter's name is Isabel, I think, Isabel. And Isabel tells the story of how one day she was with the Reverend Jenkins and they get caught in a storm and they find an abandoned cabin, and while they're there, she's drying off her clothes, and so she's naked, I guess, and the Reverend Jenkins comes in and rapes her and leaves, and so, afraid of what would happen, she's very quiet about it. She gets, she's very sullen and quiet about it because of that, and she ends up, at one point, the Reverend ends up breaking into their house, stealing the money, and he ends up stealing the money out of their Bible. That's where the mother found this, hid the money, and so she ends up, finding it, all that, and so she goes to the church, and tells on the Reverend, and they all run the Reverend out, and the Reverend, or Pete, I think, is his name Pete? I don't even remember his name. I'm gonna look it up real quick because I'm a little confused now. Hang on. I wants to know. What is his name? What was his name? Reverend Isaiah T. Jenkins. He's just a prisoner. Okay, so I forget his name. There's a paper that says that at the beginning that has his real name, Phony Pete or something like that. So the Reverend Jenkins, we'll just call him the Reverend. The Reverend Jenkins kills a young boy that tried to bring him to justice. And he comes back and he ends up begging. He ends up begging the mother. His name's Martha, for forgiveness. Until I guess toward the end, it's revealed that it was all a dream, and she ends up giving the money to her daughter, who's getting married to a young inventor named Sylvester, who's also played by Paul Robeson, and yeah, it kind of ends a little weird. It ends a little abruptly. I don't feel like there's anything really learned, or that whole aspect. Like, at one point, did the dream begin and all that? It was kind of hard to, and it was also the whole aspect of Paul Robeson playing two parts. I don't feel like was played up well enough. We don't see them like try to play them at the same time. Like how they cut pieces together where like I'm not even asking for green screen. I'm just talking about like cut from one shot where you see Robeson in the Reverend outfit, and then then the next shot you see Robeson in the Sylvester suit. So that was a little annoying. So yeah, the plot was a little difficult to follow at times. This can be expected with silent films. A lot of the time, silent films are very much intuition based, because of the fact that there's no dialogue, and the subtitles, the intertitles don't always tell you the whole story. You kind of have to watch the movement of their faces, have to read their lips sometimes, because a lot of the times they are recording actual dialogue. Also, it is a little difficult to understand this movie because of the fact that a lot of the dialogue is written in, for lack of a better term, Negro dialect. Like frums are fum, fours are faux, and things like that. There is dia, D-E-A-H-H, so things like that. And it's a little frustrating that needed to happen like that. But yeah. So anyway, that being said, again, Robeson does a fantastic job, especially when he is before the congregation in the church scenes. He is, he definitely, his facial expressions, the way he gets crowds raised up, very, 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 very attractive. And yeah. So anyway, that being said, again, the plot was really hard to follow, and I don't think the movie sold itself as well as it could have. That being said, I'm going to give this movie an, oh gosh, it wasn't as, it wasn't like obviously, blatantly racist, or anything like that, like the, Emperor Jones. But that being said, I give it an A-. I'm going to give it an A-. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't the worst movie ever. It definitely had some potential for it. If they had just maybe made the signposting a little more clear and all that good stuff. I mean, obviously, maybe the big reveal was the dream, but still, it's not. It doesn't. It seems to be slapped on as kind of a neither rhyme nor reason kind of outro to me personally. If I've misreviewed this, please let me know. Please tell me if I've misread the ending, because I'd like to know what this was going on. And that being said, I'm probably going to pick this set up very soon, because I'm enjoying the set so far. I'm already halfway through it, and I'm really enjoying it. So there's that. Yeah. So Body and Soul, A-. Borderline, directed by Kenneth MacPherson. 1930, 75 minutes, black and white, silent. Holy shit. What the fuck? So, I guess Kenneth MacPherson was a British director. I don't recognize his name as anything else. I guess Oscar Michaud directed a lot of films between the 20s and the 40s. Borderline, I don't know if he directed anything else of importance. Let's find out if he directed anything of Criterion importance, first of all. Let's check out that Criterion importance, and then we'll check out Body and Soul. Let me look him up. Kenneth McPherson. Just curious now. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, he was Scottish. Okay, yeah, he was part of the Pool Group, which started in 1927, apparently. And yeah, a lot of their films were very avant-garde based and very artsy. And this film in particular was no different. Okay, I'm looking at his filmography. It looks like he only has 5 listed on Wikipedia. One called Foothills, one called Wing Beat, one called Monkey's Moon, Borderline, and then one called Dreams That Money Can Buy. That one sounds familiar to me. That one is, that one sounds very familiar to me. Yeah, so that one will have to be probably explored sometime soon. So anyway, yeah, that one, yeah, I've heard of that one. But anyway, Borderline. Whoa. So basically, this movie, it's a Switzerland, it's a Switzerland film. So basically, it's about, Paul Robeson plays a man named Pete Marone, who is a black man living in, I think, in Britain or something like that, maybe in Scotland, and he is in love with a woman. He has his wife Ada, who has an affair with a white man named Thorne, and Thorne, Thorne has his wife Astrid. Ends up, basically getting his wife upset. Astrid gets upset about the affair, and ends up leaving. Astrid dies at the hands of Thorne. That's what happens. Astrid ends up, she ends up losing her life at the hands of Thorne. Thorne's arrested and acquitted. Pete, on the other hand, loses Ada. Ada ends up leaving. Pete is obviously very distraught. Pete ends up actually, at one point, coming to Thorne's apartment and confronting him. And in the end of the movie, they end up shaking hands, and there's this really nice shot of them shaking hands. And at the same time, Pete is forced to leave their country. And the last scene shows him on a train, and Thorne's sitting out in a flower, in a field, watching, just watching him, I think. And so anyway, that's the basic plot. It's about interracial love, an interesting, very interesting topic, tackle as early as 1930. That being said, the big aspect of this movie is the fact that it's extremely avant-garde. There are a lot of intense close-ups, a lot of shots of random items, like hands and feet and, objects, random objects. A lot of crooked angles, a lot of people looking in the distance like this, a lot of people looking at the camera, looking off, smiling, those things like that. That's what I'm talking about. That being said, McPherson captured a side of Robeson that is extremely beautiful. I'm confident enough in my sexuality to say that Paul Robeson is an extremely attractive man in Borderline. There's something about the way he looks in that movie, and I don't know whether it's the lighting or just the storyline or just the acting, but just he was what I think he said. I think he was 32 when he made the film, because I think it said he was 27 when he made Body and Soul, which was his debut. And so that means, if 1930, that means he was, I think, about 32 when he did Borderline, 31, 32. And that was just like, wow, this dude. Wish I had his gorgeousness, So yeah, if you like Robeson, if you think of Robeson as eye candy, Borderline's your movie to go. That being said, I really got into the whole avant-garde side of it all. There is a Little Rascal short from the 20s. I think it's from 28, 29, right before, a couple of shorts before they started doing talkies. One called Wiggle Your Ears, which is where the directors tried their hand at the avant-garde close-up thing, and a lot of people think don't understand the joke and think it's just a really weird short, and the fact that they talk about a lot of adult themes in that movie too, or in that short. Yeah, so like I thought of that short when I was watching Borderline, and it kind of had me laughing at one aspect. Yeah, so it's kind of funny, but it's also it's not but it's only funny that if you've seen that short and you have like a reference point to that movie, which I did. Borderline is not funny. It's not a funny movie. It's a very dramatic movie, and again, if you're into Robeson, here you go. If you're also into just a very interesting movie told extremely interestingly, then this movie is for you. Buy it, check it out. I give it an A. I almost gave it an A+, but it's still a little confusing. I think there are less intertitles in this movie than there are in Body and Soul. I feel like they only use subtitles when they absolutely positively had to. And it is a shame that they had to use the N-word as a subtitle, a few times. That being said, for some reason, just, again, the way they shot Robeson, who obviously were focusing on his work during reviewing this set, and again, just the way the whole movie is shot, it's fantastic. So that being said, I give this movie an A. And yeah, so that's it. There's also just a little bit about the musical scores for the movies. Body and Soul had a new score by Wycliffe Gordon, and Borderline had a score by Courtney Pine. And that's basically it, just a little blurb about them. So yeah, Outsider, Body and Soul, A-, Borderline, A. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching. Body and Soul, let's see, don't steal from Bibles, and don't be reverends. Don't be an imposter. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that TV show Imposter, but it's stupid. And then Borderline, don't be racist. Just don't be racist, And that's basically it. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow for the Pioneer set, featuring the movies Sanders of the River and Jericho. And until then, goodbye.